Hi, this is Chris Walker. Look, stop. Just put the wallet down for a second. I know why you're here. You just bought a gorgeous, razor-thin 4K TV, you mounted it on the wall, you fired up the latest blockbuster, and you can't hear a single word the actors are saying. The explosions? Sure, they rattle your windows, but the dialogue? It sounds like it's being whispered through a tin can inside a sock. So naturally, you're looking at soundbars. And that is where the trap snaps shut. Because right now, you are staring at a market that is absolutely flooded with marketing fluff. You've got $40 bars that are literally just Bluetooth speakers turned sideways, and you've got $2,000 systems promising cinema sound that, spoiler alert, you probably can't even use in your apartment. I don't want you to buy the wrong box and be stuck with it. I want you to spend exactly what you need to get that whoa feeling without paying for logos you can't hear. We are going to cut through the specs, ignore the watts, and find the actual gear that fixes the problem. And hey, if you appreciate honest, independent testing that puts your wallet ahead of some brand's quarterly earnings report, do me a huge favor. Hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. It tells YouTube that you want real reviews, not just 10-minute commercials, and it keeps this studio running. Now, let's fix your audio. You have to understand the physics here. It's not that TV manufacturers hate you. Well, maybe they do a little bit, but mostly it's geometry. To get that TV as thin as a smartphone, they had to shrink the speakers down to the size of Tic Tacs and point them backwards or downwards, anywhere but at your ears. So you're bouncing sound off the drywall, off the floor, hoping it eventually finds your eardrums. That is why you're turning the volume up to 50 to hear a whisper, then diving for the remote when a car crash happens. It's a dynamic range nightmare, and this creates the first trap, the panic buy. You go on Amazon, you sort by price, low to high, and you see these things, brands you've never heard of, Bestisan, Majority, generic PC soundbar, $40, $50. They promise theater sound. Look at me. Do not buy this. This is the biggest waste of $50 in the entire tech world.
Here's the problem, and it's not just the sound quality, though the sound is basically just a glorified clock radio. It's the connection. Most of these cheap bars rely on an optical cable. That's that little square plug with the red light. It's ancient tech. It sends audio, sure, but it doesn't send commands. That means your TV remote cannot talk to this soundbar. You want to turn the volume up? You have to find the tiny credit card size remote that came with the bar. You want to change the channel? You need the TV remote. You are now the remote juggler, sitting on your couch with a pile of plastic on your lap, all because you wanted to save $30. It is friction every single day. If you're on a strict budget, you just want the pain to stop, you start here. This is the Vizio V-Series 2.1. In the US market, this thing usually floats between $130 to $160. And the reason it's the minimum viable product isn't the sound, it's this port right here, HDMI ARC. Audio return channel. That cable changes your life. You plug it into the ARC port on your TV, and suddenly the TV controls the bar. You turn your TV on, the bar turns on. Volume up, bar goes up. You can throw the Vizio remote in a drawer and never look at it again. That is the frustration-free baseline. But let's talk about the sound. The 2.1 in the name means 2 speakers in the bar and 1 separate subwoofer. That 0.1 is critical. See, soundbars are thin. They cannot physically produce deep bass. Physics hasn't changed. If a bar claims built-in subwoofer and it's 2 inches thick, it's lying. It's a mid-woofer at best. The Vizio V-Series gives you a dedicated black box to put on the floor. Is it going to shake your house foundation? No, it's a small sub, but it fills in that warmth. Voices sound like human beings, not robots. Explosions have a little bit of a thump. It grounds the audio.
Is it perfect? No, it's a 2.1 system. That means there is no center channel. The dialogue is being mixed into the left and right stereo speakers. If the mix is bad, like in some Christopher Nolan movies, you might still struggle a tiny bit with clarity compared to a 3.1 system. But for the price of a nice dinner, it is infinitely better than your TV speakers. It's the good enough king. And hey, speaking of good enough versus mind-blowing, I'm actively planning the review schedule for the next 3 months, and I want to know what you are actually shopping for. Are you looking for those high-end $1,000 Dolby Atmos systems, or do you want me to find the best budget active noise-canceling headphones? Drop a comment below with the specific model or category you want me to tear apart next. I read those and they dictate what we buy. Now, let's say good enough isn't enough. You want the movie theater experience. You want to hear the helicopter fly over you. You want the bullets to whiz past your head. You enter the world of Dolby Atmos, and this is where the marketing lies get really aggressive. You will see bars labeled Dolby Atmos that are just a single stick of plastic. They use psychoacoustics, fancy math, to trick your brain into thinking sound is coming from above. It's okay. It's like a magic trick. If you sit in exactly the sweet spot and don't move your head, it works. But why fake it when you can just do it? This is the Vizio M Series 5.1.2. Depending on the sale, this sits around $350 to $450, and it is the cheat code of the industry. Look at the top of the bar. See those holes? Those are actual speakers physically pointing at your ceiling. They fire sound up, it bounces off the drywall, and comes down at your listening position. It's not a trick, it's reflection. And see these two little boxes? These are rear surround speakers. You wire them into the subwoofer, which sits in the back of the room, and suddenly you have actual sound behind you. When a car drives off screen left, the sound physically travels to the left rear speaker.
I cannot stress this enough. A $300 system with real rear speakers will sound more immersive than an $800 single bar that's trying to bounce sound off your walls virtually. Physics wins. The M Series gives you that bubble of sound. It's messy, you've got wires running from the sub to the rear speakers, so you've got to hide cables under a rug or behind the couch, but the payout is massive. You watch Dune and the sandstorm is in the room with you. But I have to be the bad guy here. The hardware is great. The software, it's pure Vizio, and by that I mean it's quirky. The interface is this cryptic row of LED dots on the side of the bar. You want to adjust the bass? The dots blink. You want to change the night mode? The dots blink differently. You have no idea what level you're on unless the bar talks to you. Literally, a robot voice says movie EQ. It's annoying. And sometimes the HDMI handshake fails. You turn on the TV and the bar stays silent for 5 seconds, 10 seconds, and you have to toggle the input. It's the Vizio tax. You pay less money, but you pay with a little bit of patience. So what if you don't have patience? What if you don't want wires snaking across your living room floor for rear speakers? What if you live in an apartment where a subwoofer will get you evicted? You pivot to the ecosystem play. This is the Sonos Beam Gen 2. Now, on paper, this thing is a ripoff. It's $450. It has no subwoofer. It has no rear speakers. It doesn't even have up-firing drivers for Atmos. It does that virtual thing I just warned you about. So why is it on this list? Why do I actually recommend this to probably half the people watching this video? Because it works every single time.
The magic here isn't the raw power, it's the brain. Sonos relies on true play. You grab your iPhone, sorry Android users, you're still second-class citizens here, you have to borrow an iPad, and you walk around your room waving it like a shaman while the speaker makes sci-fi noises. It maps your room, it learns where your walls are, and it tunes the sound perfectly to your space. The result is dialogue clarity that is honestly startling. Even without a center channel speaker physically jutting out, the Beam isolates voices better than almost anything in its class. And the night sound mode, it's the best in the business. It squashes the loud explosions and boosts the whispers so you can watch an action movie at 11 p.m. without waking the baby. But the real sell is the modularity. You buy the Beam today, it hurts your wallet, but it sounds great. 6 months later, you get a bonus, you buy the Sub Mini. A year later, you buy 2 Era 100s for rears. You build the system over time. You aren't stuck with what you bought in the box. However, there is a very specific value trap with Sonos that I need to warn you about, because if you fall for it, you are literally setting money on fire. It involves their high-end bar, the Arc, and the new Ultra version. And this is where the math starts to get really scary. So here's the trap. You see the Sonos Arc Ultra. It's the shiny new toy for 2026. They launched this thing with a massive marketing campaign about sound motion technology. Essentially, they flattened the speakers inside to squeeze more air movement into a smaller space. They claim it has double the bass of the original Arc. They claim you don't need a subwoofer. I tested it, and they're half right. The bass coming out of this single bar is chemically impressive. It defies physics. If you live in a condo with thin walls, yes, the Arc Ultra alone is probably all the rumble you can get away with before your neighbor calls the cops. It is rich, it is full, and the Atmos height effects bouncing off the ceiling are noticeably sharper than the beam.
But here is the math problem. You buy the Arc Ultra for $1,000. Then you realize, hey, for Tenet, I really do want to feel that explosion in my chest. So you go to buy the Sub Gen 4. That's another $800. Then you want rears. That's another $600-700. Suddenly you are $2,500 deep for a soundbar. And that leads us directly to the elephant in the room, the undisputed heavyweight champion of value per watt, the Samsung Q990D. If Sonos is Apple, sleek, expensive, works like magic, walls off your garden, then Samsung is a muscle car with a crate engine. The Q990D is not pretty. It's a lot of gray and black plastic. The subwoofer looks like a computer tower from 2005. But for roughly $1,100 or $1,200, often on sale for less, you get everything. You get the massive flagship soundbar, you get the subwoofer that hits like a freight train, and critically, you get 2 rear speakers included in the box. But these aren't just rear speakers. Look closely. They have drivers on the front, drivers on the side, and drivers on the top. This is an 11.1.4 system. That means 11 horizontal channels, 1 sub-channel, and 4, count them, 4 up-firing channels. 2 in the front bar, 2 in the rears. When you fire this thing up, you are not simulating a bubble of sound. You are in the bubble. I watched the Oppenheimer test sequence on this, and the rattling starts at your feet, moves up your spine, and settles in the center of your skull. It is overwhelming in the best way possible. If your priority is, I want to be scared by how real the movie sounds, the Samsung Q990D destroys the standalone Sonos Arc Ultra. It eats it for breakfast. But, and there is always a but, you have to live with it.
The Samsung system is 4 separate boxes. That means 4 power cables. You need an outlet near the TV, an outlet for the sub, and 2 outlets behind your couch for the rears. If you have an open concept living room in the middle of the floor, where are you plugging those rears in? You aren't. You're running extension cords across your rug, and your partner is going to look at you with that return this immediately glare. Sonos wins on aesthetics. Samsung wins on performance. It's that simple. There is one specific group of people who need to buy the Samsung Q990, specifically the D model, not the older C or B. That is the gamers. For years, soundbars were the bottleneck. If you plugged your PS5 into the soundbar and then the soundbar into the TV, the soundbar would choke the video signal. It would cap you at 60 frames per second. The Q990D finally fixes this. It has full HDMI 2.1 pass-through. You can run 4K at 120 Hz through the bar. Why does that matter? Because if you plug your console directly into the TV to get that 120 Hz and then use eARC to send audio to the bar, you often get audio lag. You pull the trigger and the gunshot sound happens a split second later. It's maddening. Plugging directly into the bar eliminates that lag. If you are a competitive gamer, this feature alone justifies the Samsung over almost anything else. But Chris, I hear you ask, what about Sony? I have a Sony TV, shouldn't I buy the Sony bar? Here's the truth about brand synergy. It's mostly nonsense. Sony will tell you about acoustic center sync, where the soundbar uses your TV speakers as the center channel. In theory, cool. In practice, your TV speakers are tiny and tinny, and your soundbar is high quality. Mixing them makes the dialogue sound weirdly disjointed, like 2 different people are talking at once. Sony makes great gear. The HT9 or the new Bravia Theater Quad is a fascinating, weird system of 4 gray boxes that creates a phantom center channel. It's cool, but it is wildly expensive and the connection stability can be flaky. Unless you are a die-hard Sony loyalist who just wants the logos to match, you are usually paying a Sony tax for performance that Samsung is giving you for 30% less money.
I also want to quickly address the budget Atmos pretenders. You will see brands like TCL or Hisense selling Atmos bars for $200. They will have the logo on the box. They will light up Atmos on the display. Do not be fooled. Most of these are just processing stereo sound through a filter. It's like putting an Instagram filter on a blurry photo. It changes the look, but it doesn't add detail. If you have $250, don't buy a cheap Atmos bar. Buy a great 5.1 system like that Vizio V-Series or an older model Samsung. Good stereo is always better than bad surround. Okay, so we've covered the good enough, the cheat code, the minimalist flex, and the performance beast. But I know what happens next. You're standing in Best Buy or you're staring at your checkout cart and you're paralyzed. Is the Vizio gonna break? Is the Sonos worth the rent money? Is the Samsung too ugly? I'm going to make this very, very simple for you. I'm going to break this down into 3 specific buy this, not that profiles. If you see yourself in one of these descriptions, just buy the gear and don't look back. Let's head to the verdict. Here is the reality check. Audio is subjective, but your living situation is a hard fact. The best soundbar for a guy living in a detached house in Ohio is the worst soundbar for a girl living in a 4th-floor walk-up in Brooklyn. If you buy the wrong one, you are either wasting money on power you can't use or wasting money on features that don't solve your specific room's problems. So let's categorize you. I'm going to give you the Goldilocks make for 3 very specific types of people. Profile number 1, the I want it all but I'm not rich buyer. You have a house, or at least a living room where you can make some noise. You watch Netflix, you stream Disney Plus with the kids, maybe you play a little Xbox. You want to hear the helicopter fly over your head, but the idea of spending $1,000 on speakers makes you physically nauseous. You buy the Vizio 5.1.2.
Stop overthinking the brand. Yes, the remote feels cheap. Yes, the LED interface is annoying, but for under $400, you are getting physical up-firing drivers and discrete rear speakers. No other brand offers this level of hardware density at this price point. Sony doesn't. Bose doesn't. Samsung only does it if you catch a crazy clearance sale on an older model. The Vizio M-Series is the Honda Civic of soundbars. It's not a luxury car. It might rattle a little bit if you push it too hard, but it gets you to the destination, which is immersive surround sound movie watching reliably and affordably. If you buy this, you win the value game, period. Profile number 2, the apartment dweller or the minimalist. You live in a space where floor real estate is expensive. You don't have room for a subwoofer box the size of a microwave. You hate wires. If you see a cable running across the floor, your eye twitches. You want your tech to disappear. You buy the Sonos Beam Gen 2. Do not let the forums bully you into thinking you need a subwoofer. In a 12 by 12 living room or a bedroom, the Beam is shocking. It is tight, punchy, and clear, and because it connects over Wi-Fi, it doubles as the best smart speaker in your house. You can stream Spotify, podcasts, and radio to it without turning your TV on. It becomes part of your home's infrastructure. And listen to me closely. Do not buy the bigger Sonos Arc if your room is small. The Arc relies on bouncing sound off sidewalls. If your room is weirdly shaped or too narrow, the Arc sounds muddy. The Beam is more direct. It is safer. It holds its value better than any other bar on the list. If you decide to sell it in 3 years, you'll get 70% of your money back. Try doing that with a Vizio. Profile number 3, the cinema purist or the gamer. You don't care about aesthetics. You don't care about wires. You want your friends to come over, sit down, and say, holy shit. You want to feel the T-Rex footsteps in your chest cavity. You have a 4K Blu-ray player or a high-end PC or console. You buy the Samsung Q990D. It is the undisputed king of the hill. It is an 11.1.4 monster. It solves every problem. Dialogue clarity? Perfect. Bass? Earth-shattering. Surround envelope? Seamless. The HDMI 2.1 pass-through makes it the only responsible choice for high-end gamers. Is it overkill for watching the news? Yes. Is it ugly? Yes, but once the lights go down, you don't see the plastic. You just hear the movie exactly how the sound engineer intended. It is the closest you can get to a $10,000 custom theater setup for $1,200. If you have the budget, just buy it. Stop looking, you're done. But before you click any links, I need to drop one final truth bomb on you, a piece of advice that will save you more frustration than any product recommendation. The best soundbar is useless if you set it up wrong. I see this in the comments every single day. People buy the $1,000 Samsung, they take it home and they plug it in with the optical cable, or they plug it into the wrong HDMI port, or, and this is the worst one, they leave their TV settings on PCM instead of bitstream or pass-through. If you do that, you are taking that beautiful, complex Dolby Atmos signal and crushing it down to basic stereo before it even hits your expensive speakers. You are driving a Ferrari in first gear. When you get your bar, whichever one it is, spend 10 minutes in your TV's audio menu. Turn off TV speakers, set digital audio output to pass-through or auto, make sure eARC is turned on. If you don't do this, you just bought a very expensive paperweight. I've linked the specific models we talked about today down in the description. And listen, I'm very careful with those links. I make sure they go to the actual US listings, not the gray market imports or the weird renewed listings that don't have a warranty. If you use them, it helps the channel, but more importantly, it keeps you away from the value traps we talked about. Don't suffer through bad audio. A movie is 50% sound. If you're watching a 4K TV with $1 speakers, you're only getting half the experience. Fix it. I'm Chris Walker. I'll see you in the next one.